There is a place where time is just not working anymore. Somewhere in France, we found an old house frozen for 100 years now, with the vintage furnishings still left inside. Today, the former home of a taxidermist resembles a cabinet of horror, with deceased animals everywhere that were turned into decorations ages ago. In this video, in a group of 4, we set out to learn the story of this place. Everywhere in the rural areas of France, there are these derelict chateaux, small, castle-like estates that were once homes of the wealthy. But wealth is only temporary, and this is what remains. A time capsule that allows us to see firsthand how people were living their lives 100 years ago. In today's episode, we are reading letters from the era of World War I. We are showcasing valuable furniture and old items you can normally only find in museums. And we are trying to unveil the story of the last occupants who simply left the chateau long ago. Join our travel back in time. Today's video is sponsored by Blinkist. Being curious isn't only about exploring the world, but also about learning new things. Reading a book is a good way to do so, but reading in between activities is inefficient and doesn't really let you focus on it. Believe me, we have taken books on our trips so many times, convinced we'd finally read them, but in the end they were nothing more than extra weight. Blinkist can help. Blinkist takes information from the best non-fiction books and sums them up in 15-minute pieces that you can read or listen to. They offer a wide range of categories such as health, science, history or politics. You can also find our personal book recommendation, How Democracies Die, which we wanted to read on our most recent trip. So the next time you want to go back to review the key points without reading the full book, or simply use some spare time to get smarter, try Blinkist. The first 100 people using the link in our video description get unlimited access for 1 week to try everything out for free. Or just use the link to get 25% off if you want the full membership.
Um hier hinzukommen, mussten wir jetzt unter einem Zaun durchkriechen, wir mussten klettern, wir mussten uns verstecken und auch rennen. Und da war sogar ein Elektrozaun, da haben wir uns auch einen Schock geholt. Aber wenn man es dann doch hier reingeschafft hat in so ein Gebäude, nach all dem Aufwand, dann war es das in der Regel auch wert.
We start our exploration in the kitchen. All the utensils and devices seem to be untouched and aging well. This is weird. Somebody left us a note.
Hier im Eingangsbereich ist sogar eine Tafel, da hat jemand mit Kreide draufgeschrieben, dass man diesen Ort respektieren soll, wenn man ihn erkundet. Auch ganz offensichtlich von Urbex geschrieben. Und das ist gleich das Erste, was man sieht, wenn man hier durch den Eingang, durch das Fenster reinklettert.
What is this? Most likely a vintage fuse box. Oh well, but we know what this is. Motion sensors. Several of them. Hopefully, we didn't trigger any alarm. They didn't match the vintage theme, so they were installed much more recently. Let's look around, but a bit more cautious from now on. It seems like the former resident was a hunter and collector. Most likely none of these animals died from natural causes. They were specifically killed for decorations. In the past, taxidermy was quite common. Preserving, arranging, and displaying animal bodies, or only parts of them, was just another hobby. Today it isn't that widespread anymore, but it's still considered an art form. Apart from the dead birds, it's pretty empty down here. The windows are barricaded and barely let any light in. A lot of the furniture was either stolen or saved by some caretaker. Munitionsgürtel. Wahrscheinlich Schrotflintenmunition. Also, ja, was sonst? Passt zu einem Jäger. Gehen wir mal hoch. Wurde hier schon der Schmuck gestohlen. In dem Zimmer hier liegen überall so leere Schmuckschatullen rum. Drüben auch auf dem Sims. Aber das ist Standard, das haben wir schon oft gesehen. Das ist bei solchen Häusern. Die Schmuckdiebe nicht lange auf sich warten lassen. After a long time of being uninhabited, decay has really set in. The history of such rural homes is usually barely documented. All we could find out beforehand is that this chateau was built in the 17th century by a newly married aristocratic couple. It was the family's home for several decades, until the French Revolution changed everything. Later, a wealthy man bought the estate. In the 19th century, his family renovated the house and converted it to the structure we explore today. Nowadays it's protected as a historic monument and can only be altered under strict conditions. That would be very expensive, and this might also be the reason why it's just sitting there empty today. But what happened to the inhabitants?
Da ist auf jeden Fall noch was drin. Worüber?
And why was everything just left behind? I mean, there is a whole drugstore from the 20th century in this cabinet. But there are also personal items scattered all over the place. Investigating them will help us to understand the full picture.
Da stöberst du die alten Briefe?
Ja, ich habe eine Riesenkiste gefunden. Die lagen hier alle verteilt, sind teilweise so richtige Packen. Richtig altes Wachsiegel, wie man das so kennt aus den Filmen. Die Kerzen auf den Brief tropfen lassen und dann mit so einem Stempel rein.
Ja, sowas gibt's heutzutage nicht mehr.
Nee. Heute gibt's halt E-Mails. Das ist quasi dein E-Mail-Postfach. Diese Kiste hier. Und hier sind ausgeschnittene Börsenpapiere drin. Die Börse von Paris.
Ja.
Freitag, 6. Januar 1928. Hier sind die Wechselkurse. London, New York, Deutschland, Argentinien, Belgien, Dänemark, Spanien, Holland, Italien, Norwegen, Rumänien. Schon krass, wenn man so früher, ich meine 1928, hat man hier auf dem Land gelebt und hat einfach von der Welt draußen nichts mitbekommen.
Ja, vor allem ist das Dorf ja heute noch abseits. Wir sind ja eine ganze Weile hergefahren.
Ja,
Wie war das dann erst?
Nirgendwo.
Wie war das dann erst vor 100 Jahren?
Und mit was für einer filigranen Schrift diese Leute geschrieben haben damals. Wenn ich heute was schreibe, das sieht aus wie ein Vorschulkind.
Ja,
und
das
hier,
kenne ich.
diese Schrift ist dermaßen filigran. Gerade noch eine Postkarte gefunden von 27. Das Problem kennt auf jeden Fall jeder wahrscheinlich. Man fängt an, eine Postkarte zu schreiben,
und dann geht der Platz
viel
aus.
zu viel schreiben, dann fängt man an hier zu schreiben, dann geht man hier runter. Ja, die Leute hatten sich viel zu erzählen scheinbar. Ziemlich cool. Jo, ich habe die kleinsten Briefe ever gefunden.
Zeig. Das ist ein Brief.
Guck. Tada!
Alter.
Kannst du überhaupt nur einen Buchstaben?
Nee. What?
That again, a motion sensor. But by now we are positive that the alarm is not working anymore. The security system is just a pile of junk today. A while back, but after this place became uninhabited, the system was installed by a caretaker to keep all the valuables safe. In online articles, we read about thieves entering and trying to steal the vintage furnishings, but they were stopped by police. Today, however, it seems like nobody is really trying to protect this place anymore. It has become an abandoned property with a forgotten story. But there are still enough clues left behind to help us unveil what has happened. Like this letter from far away, written 100 years ago.
Dear Gabi, these are a few views of Sydney. I hope you like them. I sent you a Sydney paper with some views in it. I hope you receive it. No doubt you and family are overjoyed now the war is over. I am so pleased as the people in France may have rest now. I wish I lived near to France as I could have a look all over it in peacetime. I may have this trip over there someday. Remember me to your mother. I hope you are all well. When you write to me, write in English. Kindest regards from GM.
That's the old passport from the former landlady. According to what we could find out here, she was the last resident. She outlived her husband for many years and was living alone in this big empty house. The children were already gone and traveling the world. She then passed away, decades ago, with no one left around to deal with her belongings. That's when time stopped here. We know that families tended to be bigger back then, with many more children than nowadays. But this is just ridiculous. In the chambers upstairs, there's a bed in almost every room.
Hier in diesem Raum kann man echt sehr gut erkennen, wie viele Fotografen hier wohl schon waren. Hier im Motiv ist alles richtig schön aufgeräumt und alles ist an seinem richtigen Platz, sagen wir mal. Aber kaum 1 Meter weg vom Motiv geht der Müllberg los.
Ja, da haben die ganzen Fotografen alles einfach aus dem Bild rausgeräumt. Da, wo man es nicht sieht, da, wo es nicht im Shot drin ist, damit das Bild sauber ist. Aber wir sind ja auf jeden Fall nicht die ersten Abenteurer hier, weil wenn man sich umschaut, überall haben sich andere Leute verewigt. Wie so ein Logbuch an den Spiegeln haben die sich verewigt.
So at least it isn't as deserted as it looked like at first. It rather seems like this house has become a place for curious visitors. It resembles a museum of a bygone era, filled with relics from the past.
Das alte Spielzeug konnte man ja aufziehen. Dann ist das rumgelaufen oder keine Ahnung, sieht aus wie der Kasper.
Was genau soll das sein?
Ich weiß nicht, also es fehlen die Arme, es fehlt ein Bein vermute ich mal, das andere ist noch dran. Dann hast du es hier, der Mechanismus, man hört ihn noch, wie sich die Feder spannt. Ah, hier, die Arme, die Stümmelchen bewegen sich. Siehst du?
Ja.
Agenda, also das sind irgendwelche Büroaufzeichnungen mit angehefteten Quittungen. Das ist sehr erstaunlich, wie Leute damals alles über Papier geregelt haben.
Hast du noch was gefunden?
Das ist ganz cool. Das hier. So Reiter-Equipment. Das ist offensichtlich ein Sattel. Ich war noch nie reiten, aber man sieht das ja immer bei den Cowboy-Filmen und so, dass die ihr Seil dann hier so drum wickeln und dieses Ding hier unten hast du die Schnalle für die Schuhe. Ja, das Sattelzeug und die schicke Mütze, die alle Reiter tragen müssen.
Ja, es macht auf jeden Fall Sinn. Auf unserem Weg hierher sind wir ja an sehr vielen Pferden vorbeigefahren.
Das stimmt, das hat wahrscheinlich schon eine lange Tradition. Und gucken, was der Verfall mit diesem Zeug macht, obwohl das eigentlich hier im... Ja, es ist natürlich schon ein bisschen Witterung ausgesetzt, aber eigentlich ist es trocken hier. Und es ist komplett... Oh shit.
Komplett verrostet, es fällt schon auseinander.
Ja. Oh, hier kann ich was lesen. Deutsches Sprachbuch. Substantive. Verben. Ich habe gerade so ein Sammelbuch gefunden.
Going through the old belongings equals a journey back in time. But you easily forget that there's a sad story connected to all of it. Houses don't just get abandoned like this. You don't leave all your stuff behind and search for a new place to live. This chateau has a tragic story. After both parents passed away, none of the children seemed to be interested in the heritage. And according to the number of beds in this building, there must have been many possible heirs. Why did they never deal with the place where they grew up? That's something we can find out from reading the old documents. But maybe you have an idea. While the big estate is falling apart today, more and more looters break in to take what they can get. When the heirs aren't interested in any of it, this should actually end up in a museum rather than on eBay. Because you don't often find original artifacts from the World War I era. Instead, all of this is just rotting away. Time has no mercy. All photos featured in this video were shot by Toby Urbex. Find the link to his Instagram in the video description down below.
This was our first sponsored video, and we'd like to say a few words about that. For us, it's very important to maintain a good relationship to our viewers, and this includes transparency. Until now, we've rejected all sponsorship requests in order to keep our project, BWT, as independent as possible. However, as some of you already know, we took a risk earlier this year and went full-time with Broken Window Theory. Of course, now we have more time to plan bigger projects and take longer trips. But this also means that we have to finance our private lives from it. So from now on, we will occasionally work with sponsors whose products and services we really can stand behind. That's a promise. The last thing we want is a sellout. In February, we spent 2 weeks exploring old chateaux, industrial sites, and many other derelict buildings all around France. Blinkist provided us with a rental car. Other expenses such as fuel, equipment, food, and accommodations were covered by our Patreon supporters. The production of these documentaries takes time and unfortunately a lot of money, but it's what we want to do for a living, and so we are very thankful to you for making this possible. And now, let's see what abandoned France looks like.
I hope you understand that we couldn't share any exterior views of the chateau this time, in order to protect the location and prevent people from going and maybe stealing from there. And by the way, how many beds did you count? It's just a ridiculous amount. We're back in 2 weeks. Stay curious and keep exploring.